Hello, I'm Jeff Cavins, and today we're looking at the readings for the Feast of Christ the King. Well, here we are, the culmination of the liturgical year, the last Sunday. Everything in the liturgical year has been pointing to today where we celebrate He is the King. And if you look carefully throughout the liturgical calendar, you'll see that the theme carries us through from the beginning of Jesus' ministry all the way to today when we crown Him the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. I absolutely love it. Now, I want to ask you a question on this very special week where we celebrate Christ the King. What if He came to you? What if Jesus showed up at your doorstep? What if you saw Him at the mall? What if you crossed paths at work? Wouldn't that be cool? Absolutely. Everybody would say that would be the best day of my life if Jesus were to come to me and to visit me. Well, on this feast of Christ the King, we find out that He has been visiting you, but maybe you didn't really recognize it. This is one of those readings that really opens my heart and opens my mind to the fact that every day as I'm walking in the streets and at the mall or at the gas station or somewhere else, that I have the opportunity to encounter Jesus in a very real way. And we're reading from Matthew chapter 25, starting in verse 31. It says, "When the Son of Man comes in His glory and all the angels with Him, then He will sit on His glorious throne. Before Him will be gathered all the nations, and He will separate them one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And He will place the sheep at His right hand, but the goats at the left. And then the King will say to those at His right hand, 'Come, O blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world.'" What a grand scripture to read on this feast week of Christ the King. And then he goes on, he says, "For." In other words, you're going to share in an inheritance of the kingdom because of what I'm about to tell you. He says, "For," verse 35, "For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me." And then the righteous will answer Him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you a drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the King will answer them, "Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me." Now that's a very powerful teaching because it reminds us that throughout the entire liturgical year, which focuses on the kingship of Jesus and His kingdom, that every one of us has an opportunity to encounter the King all throughout the liturgical year. But I think oftentimes we want to encounter the King in the grand, the beautiful, the splendor, the pomp and circumstance. But to encounter Him in the poor, to encounter Him in those who are sick or in the prison. Just recently, I was on a long trip with a number of my friends on a motorcycle, and we went all the way to Spokane, Washington. We ended up in Calgary, Alberta, and we went to a prison. We all drove our motorcycles up to the prison, and it was a juvenile detention center for young boys who, from the age of 13 to 18, were in prison due to murder, robbery, and all kinds of heinous crime. When we looked at those young men, we were able to share the gospel with them. We were cooking a meal for them at the prison, sat down one-on-one with them and talked to them about life and making great decisions. My friend, we encountered Jesus when we went into the prison. I want to encourage you as we begin next week a new liturgical calendar, that every day take note of the opportunities that you have to encounter the King every day. And this week, let's celebrate Christ the King by making Him the rule of our life and to place our lives under His headship, under His rule. We are subjects of the King. We are sons and daughters of the King. And the King will take care of us. And we will encounter Him day by day. Have a great week.